Chicago Bulls offseason news, rumors, and trade speculation. So I haven't done any Chicago Bulls related videos on this channel in quite a while, and that's mainly due to how the Bulls played in the second half of last season, going from the number 1 seed in the East to the number 6 seed in the East. A majority of that has a lot to do with the injuries that they had. Patrick Williams missing almost all of that time period, came back at the end for a few games. Alex Caruso missing different spots in that time period, mainly due to the injury he suffered against Grayson Allen in Milwaukee, which I went to that game. And then, of course, Lonzo Ball not playing at all. He just couldn't get healthy. Who knows if Lonzo Ball will be back next season to start the season. LeVar Ball says he will. Other people say that he won't, but who knows? I hope Lonzo gets healthy. But just want to give my thoughts on the Bulls going into this season, as I'm not the biggest fan of Billy Donovan, and videos I would have done would have criticized Billy Donovan, because I do believe that Billy Donovan can't change up a game plan. He has to stick with the game plan for each game and can't deviate from it. So I'm just going to talk about players that the Bulls can acquire and rumors of players that the Bulls may acquire during this offseason. Of course, before I do that, if you're a fan of the Bulls and you like Chicago Bulls related content, hopefully I continue doing at least one Bulls video a week for the majority of the year. That's my plan. Smash the like button. If you know anybody that would be interested in this, share the video with them. Or if you want to put it on your social media platforms, do that. That'd be awesome. If you want to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on the players I think the Bulls may acquire during the offseason, please do so. If you want to go over any trade scenarios, I'd be okay with that. I'll comment, or I should say I'll reply to all comments. And of course, you're watching the video anyway, so don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, join the team, and show your support. So we just had the most recent NBA draft, and the Bulls surprised everybody by taking Dalen Terry with the 18th overall pick. Not the guy I would have taken, but hey, if you have your heart set on somebody, you might as well take that player. I wanted the Bulls to get E.J. Liddell, but then there was rumors that he was only actually 6'5" versus 6'7", which would have probably steered me away from him. Walker Kessler was available at that time period. I may have taken him just because of the rim protection and the at least block shots. Of course, the guy fouls a lot too. But who will the Bulls acquire this offseason? Trading and free agency. Free agency specifically can start, I think, on the 30th. It's soon if it's not the 30th. And who will the Bulls acquire? Now, via trade, there's that trade rumor of Rudy Gobert. Honestly, it would be great to have Rudy Gobert in the middle for the Bulls, but that means we have to give up Nikola Vucevic, which Vucevic, he didn't have the greatest season, but I think he'll do better this coming season. But do you really want to pay Rudy Gobert $40 million when he may be a liability in certain games, especially the playoffs? I just think it would be too much, especially with the Bulls already drafting their player and keeping that player, at least for the time being. I don't think that trade is going to happen. I would be okay if the Bulls traded Vooch, Kobe White, and a sign-and trade with Derrick Jones Jr. That would be the only trade I'd be okay with. Patrick Williams, I will not trade in a Rudy Gobert trade at all. I just think he gets paid way too much, and I would rather pay Vooch $22 million to score more points, shoot a few more threes, and get almost the same number of rebounds. Obviously, Gobert is a standout defender, at least when he's standing there in the middle, but he can't be a perimeter defender. So I would not do that trade, and I hope that trade doesn't happen just due to the fact that it's going to be too much money for too many years for a player that I think is going to start to regress pretty badly. So Rudy Gobert, I don't see it happening, but if it happens, there's only certain players I would give up in that sign and trade. Nicholas Batum is now a free agent. He's expected to re-sign with the Clippers, but if he doesn't, he's a pretty good player. He's not a short player by any means, but I'd rather have a taller player. He's like 6'8". He can do kind of all the little things, and he would be a good role player on the Bulls. With him most likely re-signing with the Clippers, like I said, I don't see this happening, but a lot of people want it to happen, and he torches us every time he plays us, so it would be nice to have him, but it's unlikely. The contract that he'll want, if he wants the vet minimum, I'd be okay with that. Otherwise, I don't know. I don't know if he's worth more than that. Even though sometimes he is a really good player, I just think getting him on the veterans minimum would be the only deal that I would give Nicholas Batum. there's lots of rumors of a sign and trade or just an outright signing of DeAndre Ayton. I would love to have DeAndre Ayton on the Bulls for the right price. I got to find out what happened with him in Phoenix, because I don't want a player that's messed up in the head that does random weird things. I want a player that's going to play for us. And DeAndre Ayton is one of the best centers in the NBA. He's great defensively, and he can shoot, and he's okay on the perimeter as well as far as perimeter defense. So I would love to have DeAndre Ayton. It would probably have to be a sign and trade, but there's only a certain amount of money that I would give Ayton. Around $30 million a season is what I'd give, because he's young and not in his 30s, or almost in his 30s like Rudy Gobert. But it would be nice to have DeAndre Ayton if somehow, some way, the Suns and the Bulls can come to some sort of deal. The trade I would send, probably Vooch, Kobe White, and maybe future first or Portland's first. That's about it. Like I said, I only want to give him about $30 million a year, and that would be all I'd be willing to give up for DeAndre Ayton to come to the Chicago Bulls. Another guy I wouldn't mind the Bulls to take a look at, and this would have to be via a trade with the New York Knicks, and that would be Nerliz Noel. I think he would be a great fit as a backup center for us. I wanted the Bulls to get him last offseason, but he signed that 3-year deal with the Knicks. But he would be a great rim protector, as he can rebound and he can block shots, and he's even a slightly good perimeter defender for a center, and he would certainly be a good fit. Now, he's a little bit older, but I think the Bulls could realistically get him a deal to bring him over. I don't know, a deal with, including Kobe White for him straight up. That might even be able to get the job done, or you include Tony Bradley or Javonte Green. But certainly he would be better than Tristan Thompson. He would definitely be better than Tony Bradley. A lot of people hate Tony Bradley. I don't mind Tony Bradley all that much. I think he does what we paid him to do. He only makes $1.6 million a season. I think people had really high expectations of him, like he's some all-star when he's not. And then we don't really know what we're going to get out of Marko Simonovic this season, if he even really plays. So if we can get Nerliz Noel, I would love it to happen. Another rumored player the Bulls would go after in free agency would be PJ Tucker. Now, he's this smaller player that plays the 4. He's 6'4", 6'5", but he gives guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo just a fit. He's all over him defensively, and if the Bulls can get him, I would love it. But it sounds like he's going to want a pretty hefty contract for a guy that's going into his age 37 year or 37 years old. And I don't know if I'd be willing to put the money to PJ Tucker when we need other guys that can be a better rim protector for that money. But certainly he can hit the corner 3, and he can give guys fits on defense. And he has a winning pedigree. He was on the Heat this last season. They almost made it to the finals. He was on the Bucks, and they won the championship. So maybe PJ Tucker is the answer. Although there's players that I would probably want before him. If PJ Tucker is willing to accept like a $3 million deal, then that might be a deal that I would bring him over to the Bulls on. Another guy I think the Bulls should make a call to, he'll be a free agent. A lot of people don't talk about this player, but per 48 minutes, this guy can really put up numbers. Now, whether or not that remains true, if that actually happens, I don't know. But Isaiah Hardenstein, I think, is a guy that a lot of teams should take a look at. He's a big body. He's a good rim protector. He can slightly guard the perimeter, although he's not that great at it, but he's not terrible at it. But I think he could be a great backup center or even a starter, and he's never started, at least not last year on the Clippers. If he's a starter, he might even put up better numbers. Now, he's one of those centers that commits a lot of fouls, kind of like Daniel Gafford, who the Bulls used to have. So that might be an issue, but I like his game, and I think it's not really going to cost much to get him on the Bulls. Probably like a $6 million deal to get him as a backup center or possibly a starter, depending what happens to Nikola Vucevic this offseason. But he's certainly a guy I would make a call to and see what he wants. Another player I would like the Bulls to at least make a call on, it would have to be via a trade, and that would be Jonathan Isaac of the Orlando Magic. He is exactly what the Bulls are looking for. Now, there's obviously some injury concerns. He's missed the last 2 seasons due to injuries, but if he's healthy, or he looks to be and appears to be healthy, he would be exactly what we're looking for on the Bulls. He's a 4. He can rebound. He can block shots. He can even play some perimeter defense. And he can score as well. Not the most polished scorer, but certainly he has all the tools. And with him missing the last 2 seasons, his trade value, you got to think, is at a low. Orlando already has a lot of players they can put at the 4 and the 5, so they don't really need Jonathan Isaac anymore, and I don't think it would take that much to get him. Now, in this deal, you're probably trading Kobe White. I think Kobe White is involved in all my trades. I guess I've already come to the conclusion that I don't want Kobe White on the Bulls anymore. And then maybe like a sign-and trade with Derrick Jones Jr. Possibly you include a draft pick, but I don't know. A guy that's missed 2 seasons in a row, I don't know if that's going to be something that you have to do. But Orlando, I think they would want some more shooting because they have some good shooting already. And then maybe something else to get Jonathan Isaac on the Bulls. Obviously, his health, we got to find out if he's healthy or not. But he would definitely be a guy I would really want the Bulls to take a look at. The next guy is a rumored guy that the Bulls were potentially going to get around the draft, but didn't, and that would be John Collins. I'll go on record saying I don't want John Collins because he doesn't play a lick of defense. He's a guy that gets you 17 and 8, and that's about it. Scoring is important, but I want a guy that can really play defense, and John Collins is not going to be the guy that's going to give you a lot of defense, and I just don't want to give anything away to get John Collins, especially if it's like Patrick Williams. In that scenario, I would probably keep Kobe White because I'm not a fan of John Collins at the moment. And I don't know how realistic the deal of getting him would be, but I think he already makes too much and doesn't do enough to warrant any type of contract. So I would probably take a pass on John Collins, although that might be what happens, but I doubt it. The next thing would either be a sign-and trade or possibly just an outright free agent signing. That would be Mitchell Robinson. Now, if we do trade Nikola Vucevic and don't get a center back in return, I would definitely make an offer for Mitchell Robinson. He's kind of probably going to want close to $10 million a season, I think. Maybe less, but we do have a mid-level exception, and at the moment, I think we have a mid-level exception where we can offer like $13 million a year. So Mitchell Robinson would be the ideal candidate. He's a good rim protector. He can block shots. He can also injure players like Patrick Williams. I know that wasn't his intention. I'm just being funny. But I would love to have him. He's a young talent, and he's a pretty good big. Although he doesn't have much for shooting, if somehow, some way he can develop an outside shot, he would be definitely worth, around $10 million per season to have Mitchell Robinson. I don't know if the Knicks are going to match any offers for him because I think they have his bird rights. So it remains to be seen, but I would love to have Mitchell Robinson, especially if Vucevic does end up leaving in another trade scenario. And then in the last trade scenario I have is a rumored, it's just a very small rumor right now, but it could potentially become a reality due to what's going on with Kyrie Irving. He's probably going to walk. He's probably going to decline his option and take a cheap deal elsewhere, probably to the Lakers, and that would be Kevin Durant. So this would have to be a trade, and Durant makes, I think it's $44 million, but I would love to have Kevin Durant on the Bulls no matter what it costs. You're obviously going to keep Zach LaVine. You probably have to offer either DeMar DeRozan or Nikola Vucevic in this deal. Fine. DeMar DeRozan's value is at an all-time high. I don't think he's going to get better. I think he's going to regress. But, hey, if we can get Kevin Durant for a package around, surrounding DeMar DeRozan, Kevin Durant's a better defender, although he slipped a little bit, but he's still a better defender than DeRozan, and he has a way better outside shot. Although DeRozan, he can shoot the ball. He just likes his mid-range game a lot more. Michael Jordan was a perfect example. He had a big mid-range game, too. Didn't really shoot that many threes. Every once in a while he would, but I think DeRozan, certainly his value with being at all-time high. If Kevin Durant wants to leave the Brooklyn Nets, I would love to have him on the Bulls. Now, the deal that I've constructed in my head would be Nikola Vucevic, Patrick Williams. Yeah, you probably have to give Patrick Williams no matter what in this deal. You either give away DeRozan, Vucevic, and then either Ball or Patrick Williams. So Vucevic, Patrick Williams, Kobe White, a sign-and trade with Derrick Jones Jr., and if you have to include it, a 2027 first from the Bulls, and then if you have to include it, the 2000, whatever pick it this turns out to be, the Portland first-round pick that we have right now. Kevin Durant is a generational talent. He's a good player, and I would love to have him on the Bulls. I think he would certainly be an upgrade over what Patrick Williams has given us thus far. And maybe somehow, some way, we keep Patrick Williams and we just trade DeRozan and maybe Lonzo Ball. I don't know, but I would love to have KD on the Bulls no matter what, as long as we keep LaVine and have either Vucevic or DeRozan, I think that would be a great fit. Maybe a little bit too much offense, but I would love to have Kevin Durant. Now, if Vucevic goes in that deal, I'm not sure how much money we would have left. You know, how much close to, if that puts us over the luxury tax, then our mid-level exception would be lower. But if we still have enough money where we can offer about $10 million a season, that is the scenario where I have to have Mitchell Robinson as my center as well, just to have like a starting center in the NBA. So I don't know what the likelihood of any of these deals would be. I certainly think they're possible. I do not want John Collins on the Bulls just because I don't think he really gives us much. He doesn't give us what we need at that position. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of Dalen Terry as the Bulls' 18th overall draft pick. Let me know what you think of these offseason targets, such as Rudy Gobert, Nicholas Batum, a sign-and trade for DeAndre Ayton, or actually you can outright sign him, Nerliz Noel, PJ Tucker, Isaac Hardenstein, Jonathan Isaac, John Collins, Mitchell Robinson, and Kevin Durant. Let me know your thoughts on all these deals. Put scenarios or trade scenarios in the comment section of what you think it would take to get these guys. Realistic scenarios. You can't just trade Kobe White for Kevin Durant. Doesn't work that way. You have to match the salaries or come to a certain, you have to come close or something like that, depending on what your cap space is. And of course, you're watching the video anyway, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And JDev will return.